Hi guys, yesterday I had some friends over for dinner and for dessert I served this caramel souffle and apple ice cream. It's kind of my take on a caramel apple and it went down really well. It was really easy too. This ice cream only has 3 ingredients and doesn't involve an ice cream maker or churning or anything like that. It was very easy, and souffles are notoriously difficult to make, but this one really isn't, and you'll be really surprised at how easy it is. I'm going to show you how to do as much as you possibly can do ahead of time so that after your main course of your dinner party or whatever, you can just whip up the last few steps and serve this really nice dessert. Start by making the ice cream at least a day in advance by adding a can of sweetened condensed milk to a bowl, or in this case a saucepan, followed by 500 milliliters of cream and a little bit of green apple liqueur. I'm using this Mickey Finn's, which is Irish, but apple sours would work really well as well, or anything that is really intensely apple flavoured. I'm using 100 milliliters here. Give it a quick mix up before you go at it with an immersion blender or a hand blender. Then whisk it up with your blender until it's good and thick, kind of like the consistency of whipped cream. Then decant it into a freeze-proof container, clamp the lid on and store it in the freezer overnight or for at least 8 hours. Then a few hours before you serve, separate 7 eggs, keeping the yolks in a big mixing bowl and the whites in the bowl of your freestanding mixer. And to the yolks you add a can of this caramel, which is amazing stuff. It's so delicious. If you can't get it anywhere near you, you get it by boiling down a can of sweetened condensed milk for about 2 hours. Then whisk up the yolks with the caramel. This should take a little bit of time because the caramel is very thick, as are the yolks, but eventually you'll get a really smooth and incorporated mixture that has no lumps or bumps or nothing wrong with it. Then just set this aside until you bake these souffles off just before serving. You should also grease your ramekins ahead of time as well. Do this by brushing the insides of the ramekins with some melted butter, and when brushing the walls of the ramekin, brush upwards. This will allow the souffle to rise nicely. I'm greasing 6 ramekins here because my ramekins are really big. They hold 200 milliliters, which is about 6 ounces, which is bigger than the norm. When all your ramekins have had their first layer of butter, you put them into the fridge for 10 minutes to let them firm up and let the butter cool before you give them a second coating of butter. Once they've all had their second layer of butter, you then add a couple of tablespoons of cocoa powder into the first ramekin and gently tease out all the excess cocoa into the second ramekin, making sure that all the sides are coated with cocoa. Then tip the excess cocoa out of the second ramekin into the third in the same way you've just done. And repeat until all your ramekins are coated with cocoa and set aside until later. This, I'm afraid, is all you can do ahead of time. The last few steps you have to do right before serving, because if you make a souffle ahead of time, it'll just sink and go disgusting. So once you've had your main course with your friends, hop up and whip up those egg whites until they're really stiff and satiny and shiny. Then add a little bit of your egg white mixture to your caramel egg yolk mixture and mix it in really well. This will lighten the egg yolk mixture before you fold in the rest of the egg whites. Now add in the rest of the egg white mixture and fold it in really gently, keeping all that air in the egg whites inside in the souffle mixture. Don't rush this though, it will take some time before the egg whites have been incorporated into the yolk caramel mixture without losing air. Now take your greased ramekins and fill them all with that souffle mixture that has still got loads of air in it, and bake it at 200 degrees Celsius for the time, I guess, depends on how big your ramekins are. I gave mine 16 minutes because these are really big ramekins, but you might want to keep an eye on them if they're smaller. Once they're done, they should be good and risen, and you need to serve them straight away. Add a scoop of your apple ice cream and then just tuck right in. This caramel souffle was so nice and airy, and it was still really hot, and served with the cold apple ice cream. It was just such a combination made in heaven. It was really reminiscent of caramel apples. Delicious. Thanks a million for watching, guys. If you liked this video, click the like and subscribe buttons below. I did try to make a few homemade garnishes as well, but they didn't really last very long, so I didn't serve them and didn't want to include them in the video. But be sure to follow me on social media. You'll find all the links to my accounts in the description below, plus the link to my blog where you'll find the full recipe at www.wookiecook.org.